So I'm Andy Atkins-Krüger. I'm the founder and CEO of Webcertain. I'm going to be talking to you about, not that, but about geo-targeting, which is a topic that I've spoken on many times. I'm also known as the Gary Illiers warm-up person because I have to warm you up for Gary when he comes and does his Q&A. So, although the other guys have also done a pretty good job of that. So this is where I live, not so far away from here. But today's topic is navigating the complex world of geo-targeting and hreflang. So the first rule number one, is that every international site is going to have geo-targeting issues. That's just a standard kind of, I haven't come across one yet that doesn't have something going on somewhere. So obviously we want to try and tackle that. These slides basically are trying to make us think about why this matters. So this guy, and these slides were actually written when I didn't live in Spain and was thinking about Portugal. But there you go. So this is Luis, who lives in Oporto in Portugal. Yes, I said that. And he actually runs a small expanding hotel, and he currently needs some more furniture because he's expanding. So what he does is he goes to this thing called Google. You may have heard of it. And he sticks in a search term, which is, and I don't speak Portuguese, but something like Moveias para hotel. And he gets a set of results. So in the results, he thinks, I'm going to go and buy some furniture. And the first result that's in there, which looks attractive to him at first, turns out to be Brazilian, which is a bit of a problem. Because the price is in Brazilian reals. It's got free delivery and installation, but only to Sao Paulo, which for him in Oporto doesn't help very much. So as you can imagine, the geo-targeting for Luis hasn't gone very well so far. Geo-targeting, basically, to summarize what it is about appearing in front of relevant searches at the right time, with the right content. It's being relevant. Now, there's a problem with these slides that some of you switched on SEO guys might have noticed. If I go back to this one, what's wrong with that? Well, it's not the current SERP, is it? That's from about 2013. So what's Andy doing showing you slides from 2013? Has he not had a chance to update his slides? Well, you would think that this would be something that was fixed in 2017, but I went and had a look. Here it is. Brazil, Brazil, Brazil. And that's not looking at some of the others that are less obvious. In fact, the first .pt site is the last one on the page. Now, there are some .coms that are no doubt relevant locally, but this problem hasn't gone away. It isn't something that's been fixed by either Google or, in many cases, also by the publishers, the web owners, if you like. So geo-targeting is a continuous battle against the immovable force of websites and Google. So let's just remind ourselves why geo-targeting matters to us. First is language understanding. We need people who are looking at our web pages to actually understand what we're trying to say to them. We also want to be offering them the right product, the product that we are selling in that marketplace. We want to make sure that the service or product that they're looking at is available, ideally. And we want to comply with the local laws. You know, there may be things we can't sell in one country, we can sell in another, or that we may have to comply with certain regulations about how things are sold. We also want to integrate with local teams or with local campaigns that are taking place. And we want to be relevant. Relevant is the top-level word that describes it all. So for all of these reasons, we need to work on our geo-targeting to make sure we're presenting the right things at the right time to the right person. Intriguingly and shockingly, for some people, this doesn't have an awful lot to do with rankings. Does it? No, and I'll explain why. Let's imagine that we've got 4 countries, country 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can see in the list, there's one I've put in capitals in certain places that says my ranking. This is to represent the ranking that my website currently has. So in country number 1, which is my target country, I have a ranking down here in position 17. So being a good SEO, I'm going to put loads of effort and money into making that ranking rise up from number 17 to number 1, aren't I? Aren't I? Post-lunch problem? No, you don't agree? Okay, well, let's see. I've got one over here, and this one is in position 4. But ironically, it's actually a relevant ranking for this country over here, but it's over there. So instead of banging my head against the wall to try and get number 17 up to number 1, or no, somewhere on the first page anyway, I could actually be looking at correcting the geo-targeting that's happening somewhere else. One of the problems, though, is that people don't necessarily see that their ranking is in the wrong place. One of the things we do, which is a marvelous trick, is we do these screen scraping ranking checks. And we do them in the country that we're targeting. We don't very often do the rank checks in countries that we're not targeting to find out whether we're ranking somewhere we shouldn't. Not very often. Some people do, but it's not a common thing. But if we could move this ranking from country 4 to country 1, and there's one over here that could do with going back into country 4, we'd be doing a better job for our users, and we wouldn't even have shifted a ranking place at all. That is, of course, assuming that all of the factors are equal, which they never are. So you just have to bear that in mind. So how can we influence our geo-targeting? We've got a set of tools. These are the tools. Local domains, CCTLDs. It's a complex term, CCTLD, but we talked about .ru earlier on. It's basically those kind of domains. We've got webmaster tool settings or search console settings, hreflang tags, which I'm going to go into in a little bit more detail. Canonicals can help us part way along the way. Language isn't obvious, but maybe we should look at that more often. But things like currency, address formats, relevant content, server location, and inbound links are all fairly important. Now, I met Matt Cutts, that Mikkel was talking about back in about 2005 or 6 or something. And what he said to me was, I'm really proud of the fact that Google is the first search engine in the world to use reverse IP lookups to do the geo-targeting. The moral of the story is, in those days, that was the only thing that Google looked at. Look at what we've got now to play with. Unfortunately, if anything, it's a bit too complicated. One of the issues you get is when the signals or the information that we share with the search engines doesn't match. It's going in opposite directions. It doesn't really correlate. So here's an example where if you had a Brazilian language site where the hreflang was Portuguese and the CCTLD said Sweden, what would you do? And of course, that will never happen, will it? Well, these guys have that problem. Sweden.se. They're an organization that promotes Sweden to the rest of the world, and they are funded by the Swedish government. And the Swedish government stipulated when they gave them the money, it has to be on a .se domain everywhere, which wasn't exactly ideal for them from an SEO perspective. However, again, this website is from 2013. So, of course, by today, they figured it out and they fixed it. This is what was happening to them in 2013. They were actually ranking, despite the fact that they had a few issues, and partly it's because they got a lot of investment, and in those days, links were perhaps a more relevant factor. And they did okay. Also from 2013. So what are they doing today? Well, this is their site today. It's mobile friendly. It's faster. It doesn't have an awful lot of text content in there. It's one of those pages that goes on forever. It doesn't have any hreflang anywhere. Okay, well, not everybody has to have hreflang. Interestingly, they don't target as many languages. There's no Spanish anymore. They only have English, Arabic, Russian, and Chinese. So they've reduced what they try to do. I don't know if that's related to their earlier problems. And they've got information about Sweden in other languages. And you can see that what they did, you can't see, actually, you can't possibly see this. But down here, they've got .cn, .ru, and then they've got an Arabic site that's on a subdomain. So they basically, I think, possibly because of the experience they had with the .se, they moved away from using that